So hey y'all, welcome back to H Blues Word. I'm Stacey Brewer. Now today we're going to talk about the testimony that honestly had the courtroom apparently holding its breath, and that's Capricorn Clark's testimony. If you haven't been following the Diddy trial closely, let me catch you up real quick on this. Capricorn Clark is a former longtime employee of Sean Diddy Combs. She recently took to the stand in his alleged federal criminal trial, and listen, what she had to say, it was wild, it was crazy, and honestly quite disturbing. So let's get into it. Capricorn's been in the music industry since she was a teenager, working with major labels like Def Jam and Death Row, before ending up at Bad Boy as Diddy's personal assistant around 2004. Now, she eventually moved up to director of marketing at his company, but from day one, red flags. Like literally day one. She says Diddy took her to Central Park at night and confronted her about having worked for Death Row, which is Suge Knight's label, and that's his rival. And get this, he tells her, if anything happens, I'll have to unalive you. And she says that his security just stood there. She said she was honest with him and just tried to convince him that she was not a threat. Now, that moment set the tone for everything else. And you fast forward, she describes intense work conditions, working from 9 a.m. to 4 a.m., barely eating, barely sleeping, being accused of stealing diamond jewelry. In fact, she says she was interrogated once for days over that, locked in rooms, given polygraph tests. She says someone even told her she would end up in the East River if she didn't calm down and tell the truth. She had 5 days of that. Then there's the 2011 incident that really hits hard. We're talking Capricorn says that Diddy showed up at her home in LA. He was furious. He had a pow. He ordered her to get dressed so that they could go confront Kid Cudi because he was reportedly dating Cassie at the time. Now, according to her, he literally said, "We're going to unalive Kid Cudi." She says she was terrified, of course, and she called Cassie on a burner phone and tried to warn her. Now, let's talk about that burner phone. When Capricorn found out about Cassie and Cudi, found out they were dating, she actually took Cassie to a Best Buy to get that kind of phone, just so that they could hide this relationship from Diddy because she knew Diddy had a bad temper and that this would set him off. And clearly it did. I mean, clearly she was right. I mean, we're talking alleged home break-ins, alleged car chases, alleged arson, alleged violent attacks on Cassie, and alleged kidnapping on Capricorn. This wasn't just some celebrity drama. This woman was allegedly in fear of her life. And y'all, Capricorn's Cudi story does not exist in a vacuum, because you have Cassie, Cudi himself, and Cassie's mother all testifying about this event. They corroborated each other regarding this alleged incident. All of this could strengthen, in my opinion, the RICO charge, because you see alleged kidnapping with Capricorn, like I said. You see her being forced to go to Cudi's home, and you see alleged arson. And Diddy allegedly used his employees to perform these criminal acts. Now, it should be noted that Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all of these charges. And look, in this country, he is innocent until proven guilty. But this was Capricorn's account. So Clark also described Diddy as being in full control of Cassie's image, her career, and every opportunity she had, and I feel that strengthens the prosecution case. She says she saw illegal substances like X, Molly, powder, prescription meds. And sometimes she said she had to get them for him. Sometimes the prescriptions were in her name, she said. Now, this too goes to the RICO charge, the distribution of illegal substances and using his staff, his enterprise, allegedly to distribute. And no, you do not have to make money. in order to be considered a substance trafficker. As I heard a reputable top defense attorney say, and he has tried federal cases, he says giving your illegal substances to friends or associates and not making any money or even having them buy these substances for you, it doesn't mean you are not a dealer. He said it just means you are a bad dealer because you didn't make any money. Now, during cross-examination, Diddy's legal team tried to poke holes, of course, in Capricorn's story. They brought up a 2021 message where she supposedly said she used to have a crush on him before she started working for him, and she wanted to work with him again. Now, listen, I know some people may want to latch on to that, but to me, that was so irrelevant, such a distraction, such a deflection, and was a waste of time. I mean, we're talking 20 years ago, she may have had a crush. And they also brought up how she returned to work for Diddy after being fired. But look, people in toxic situations, especially when careers are on the line, they do a lot to survive. She says she had a lot on the line. Both her parents were gone, so she was alone. She has a son who is autistic, so she needed to eat. She needed her professional life back. That's what she said. Now, that doesn't erase what they've lived through. We've seen folks return to jobs they hate. We've seen people return to dangerous relationships. The average DV victim returns 7 times, or they even return to environments that have damaged them. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. It actually highlights just how trapped they were or are. And that's what Capricorn described, feeling like one man control whether she could ever work again. She said after she got fired, she was blacklisted. She said she couldn't work. She was even warned, allegedly, by top executives at Interscope. She was told to just leave Diddy alone or it wouldn't end well for her. Now, that part of her testimony was struck from the record, but I'm sure it stuck with many in the courtroom, and it likely stuck with many on the jury. But let's be clear. The biggest takeaway from Capricorn's testimony is that, again, it directly supports the RICO charge, in my opinion. We're talking about alleged kidnapping, alleged witness tampering, the alleged distribution of illegal substances, and possibly even alleged forced labor. These are not random accusations. They fit the pattern of organized criminal conduct allegedly enabled by Combs's business infrastructure. And for those asking why Capricorn wasn't allegedly fond of Cassie, because apparently she spoke on how she wasn't as talented, in her opinion, as Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, and she was a studio singer. And she also felt Cassie may have been why she wasn't at Bad Boy at one point. But look, honestly, her possibly not liking Cassie and now testifying for the government, thus supporting Cassie, to me makes her testimony feel even more real and stronger. She is likely not faking it. She put herself out there, put herself at risk to tell her truth about what happened to Cassie, Cudi, and her. And again, Diddy has pleaded not guilty to all charges, but let me say this. George Kaplan, his other assistant that I spoke about in another video, and I'll link it below. Now, he said something that really hit home. He called Diddy a god, believe it or not. He said he still admires him as an entertainment figure, but despises him for what he did in his personal life, especially to Cassie and Gina. He said he witnessed DV. So yeah, 2 things can be true. You can both love someone, but also know them to be an awful human being. And the defense may want you to believe otherwise, that these 2 things can't both be true. But there have literally been several people saying similar things about Diddy on the stand. And one more thing that struck me. Capricorn mentioned a possible FO involving Kim Porter years ago. This was interesting as Kim has been described as Diddy's soulmate by the defense. But she too may have had to engage in FOs. And look, we know that Kim passed in 2018, and I remember it being reported that she was using IV drips heavy to try to cure herself of her sickness at that time. Now, that always stuck with me, especially after hearing Cassie describe what happens after an FO. Remember, Cassie said they would need to use an IV drip to recover. So it really makes me wonder, was that what Kim was dealing with before she passed? Was she recovering from an FO? I mean, that's just a question. Now, to be clear, Kim Porter's official cause of death was listed as pneumonia, and there's no evidence that Diddy had anything to do with her death. But I would be lying if I said the question didn't linger in my mind. Because look, according to testimonies, Diddy has been living an alleged illicit-filled and illegal substance-filled lifestyle. And in my opinion, that opens the door for tragedies like Kim passing to occur. But back to this case. This trial isn't over. We'll probably hear from some of Diddy's former bodyguards like D-Rock, Uncle Polly, Ruben, or even Roger Bonds. I mean, because their names have come up a lot during this trial. So if they testify, they could back up even more of what we have already heard so far. Now, of course, again, Diddy has pleaded not guilty, and in this country, he's innocent until proven otherwise. But with testimony piling up and stories overlapping, it's starting to feel less like smoke and more like fire. That's it for today's H Blues Word. I'll be back again to cover more from this trial. But until next time, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And always stay informed. Peace.